Welcome back to Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast. Today, we have some amazing guests for you today. Today, we have Michelle Jepson and Kaylin Young of Jill's Office. Now, Jill's Office is a virtual receptionist firm that can help you answer those phone calls when you can't, or have them even just as a backup. You know, when you're busy, you're out on the job, you're mowing, you're landscaping, you're talking to a customer, and you just don't have time to take that phone call. They can do that for you. They also offer some additional services that can help you just getting back to customers, do some follow-ups with customers, some amazing things. So you do not want to miss today's episode. Quick word from our sponsor, and we'll dive right in how a service like Jill's Office can pay for itself tenfold. This podcast is brought to you by busybusy. Busybusy is so simple to use, and it's the most reliable GPS time tracking app on the market. And the best part is, it was built for landscapers. busybusy's founder created busybusy because he owns multiple construction companies and needed to understand better which projects were making him money and which projects were killing him. Payroll is the highest variable cost in the project, so you better be tracking it. Busybusy does this better than anyone else. So download busybusy today, and don't forget to mention the Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast to get 3 free months.
We want to take a quick second to tell you about our friends over at Cycle CPA. I can't even express to you how important it is to have a good accountant on your side. You know you want accurate bookkeeping and financial statements every month. Instead, you're often left with limited time to focus on the accounting side of your business and no reports to show for it. At Cycle CPA, the landscaping accountants, they not only handle the bookkeeping, but also provide landscape industry benchmarking, job costing, financials by service line, advisory meetings, and much more. Cycle CPA has a team of landscaping accountants available to provide anything from bookkeeping to CFO services. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $100 off, mention the Million Dollar Landscaper Podcast.
Welcome back to Million Dollar Podcast. Today, I'm so excited for today's guests. We have Michelle Jepson and Kaylin Young of Jill's Office. Now, Jill's Office is a virtual receptionist firm that books over $2 million of work on the phone every single month for the clients. That's an amazing number. Michelle, she has an MBA and is obsessed with helping small business systemize and grow their business. She and her team are on a mission to not only help businesses create a professional and customer experience through seamless communication, but to help them gain time and financial freedom through the dream of why they started their business. So welcome, Michelle and Kayla.
Thank you. Yeah, such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you guys on. Just before this podcast hopped on, we were talking a little bit. We had one of our Academy members. I think I pretty much got them convinced to join your services yesterday. I was so excited. And the reason why is because he is so swamped with getting phone call after phone call and just can't handle it. And he gets home at night. It's like 8:30 at night. He said he's getting these phone calls and he's supposed to be spending time with his family, but he's making these phone calls. So it's just stressing him out. So I'm excited to have you guys on here and talk about Jill's Office.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that, this is the case with every probably single business owner we've ever talked to or worked with, is just you start your business for freedom. You want that financial freedom, you want the time freedom, and then realize soon after going that you've just pretty much imprisoned yourself to your office chair and your phone and don't have the freedom, actually have less freedom than you did before, working 80 hours for yourself, instead of 40 hours for someone else, how that saying goes. And so we're just so excited to provide a way to help people retain that freedom that they so desired when they started their business and get back to their families at night and actually be able to focus on their business during the day and not have constant distractions and focus on what only they can do in their business. And so that's what we're all about. And it's the favorite part, I think, of our jobs, of just hearing that relief in our clients' voices of just like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize just how stressed I was all day long. Because it is stressful. There's just so many balls coming at you all the time.
Oh yeah, especially if you're a smaller business and it's just you out by yourself or you with a couple team members, you're out in the field all day doing things, and then somebody's calling you, you got to run away from the equipment that's going, and then dust is flying. It's just crazy and chaotic. So it'd be nice to have somebody like your office be able to handle that. So those that don't know what Jill's Office is, you mind giving a little background about Jill's Office and how it got started and all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to jump on that, Kaylin?
Yeah. Jill's Office, we're virtual receptionists, so we help take inbound and outbound calls. The really great thing about it is that we're not just taking a message, so you have 1,000 calls to respond to at the end of the day. We can actually do things like scheduling estimates and jobs for you and getting that done so that when you're done with your day, you don't have to respond to 1,000 calls. It's already taken care of for you and your schedule's set up for the next day too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way we got started is our founder, his family is all in the home service business. And so one day he was driving in the car with his brother, who's a contractor, and his phone was ringing. And our founder, his name's Brant, he said, are you going to get that? And his brother responded, oh, no, if they really want to do business with me, they'll call me back. And it was just such a shocker to him, just that whole mental state of not realizing the importance of capturing every call. And, if you don't get that call, then they're probably going to call your competition, and just realize the need there was to provide help. But we joke all the time that, handing your phones over to someone is like trying to find a babysitter for your baby, because your business is your baby and you're not going to hire just anyone off the streets and trust them to be that great first impression. So it's just really important to us to hire, the cream of the crop. As far as receptionists go, we're all US based. And so we only hire who we'd be comfortable with answering our own phones, just because that first impression is king. And so being able to have a reliable, trustworthy, friendly voice who's professionally trained in customer service and phone etiquette to represent your business is what we're all about.
That's awesome. That's something we actually talked about in some of our academy things. Is our group coaching is, if they hire somebody, are they going to be trained? Are they going to know how to answer it? Are they going to be able to be respectful to the employee? I think we have sometimes a bad image of like the overseas call centers and stuff. They speak another language and sometimes they're difficult to understand. And that's not what you guys are all about.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. We get mistaken all the time to be the wife or the family member.
Yeah.
And we want to have that impression of really being actually working for the company. Obviously, we're not going to know all the ins and outs, but we do train our receptionists in how to handle those calls. And we set up our accounts to have the frequently asked questions right there. So anything that we can help with, we can. And then the things that we can't, then we're really good about, taking a message and saying, we'll get you to the right person who can help you with that. So yeah, it's, first impressions, the whole customer experience, it's huge. That's the defining factor in what wins business these days, because the internet, it's just leveled the playing ground for everyone, which is an amazing thing. But then it's also made it that you've just got to make sure that you are always present and available for when your customers call in order to stay ahead of the game. We've done surveys where we've called random home service businesses across the US, and we're always shocked. The last one we did, we called 100 random home service companies, and only 73% of them did not answer the phone. So only 27% picked up the phone. And I've been trying to get someone to do my sprinklers, for the past few months, and I cannot find anyone to answer the phone. And I will literally, I am wanting to pay money to someone that can come out and fix this for me. And it's just crazy to me. The field is ripe for people who are just available. And if you answer the phone, the customers are going to book with you. That's the secret, one of the biggest secrets of it. So
it is
so true. After calling, I've been in the same situation. After calling multiple companies, the one that finally does answer, I don't care what it costs anymore. You answer the phone and no one else has, and I'm ready to get this taken care of.
It's true. We have recordings of calls that literally say that, of just the callers, I've called, 10 people, you're the first one to pick up. And even when they aren't the least expensive, it's just hey, you're available. And because it sends a message. If you're not picking up the phone when I'm wanting to pay you money, then what's going to happen when something goes wrong? Are you going to be available? And to me, that's a big deal. I want to do business with someone that I know is going to be there no matter, good or bad, that when I need help, you're going to be there for me. And so you want to make sure you're sending that message to your customers that you're available and you're present and you are important to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to one of the things you said about the first impressions, one thing I was in a mentor group a long time ago. One of the things they said, they titled the person that answered the phone, the director of first impressions, which I thought was awesome, because that's what it is. When I, as a customer, call them, that's my first impression of that company, and you want that to be a gentle, kind voice. And I know one of the things you always say is you have to be smiling when you answer the phone. That's one of the things that you train on, which I think is smart, because that's what you need to do when you're answering the phone. When we actually made procedures, that's one of the things we required our person to answer the phone was to smile. And I think that's awesome. But it is so important to have that first impression. That's something that you guys train on. I think that's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. you can hear a smile. A lot of people don't realize that. So I mean, especially on a podcast, this is great to do. So if I was going to answer for $1 Million Landscape, and I'm going to do it just both ways. So I'm saying this exact same tone. Only difference is smiling, nod. So hello, thank you for calling $1 Million Landscaper. How can I help you? Hello, thank you for calling $1 Million Landscaper. How can I help you today? I mean, literally, I said that the exact same way, but you can hear that little higher, tone of voice, a little friendlier, and that comes across on a phone. It's those little things that make a difference. And is this a company I want to do business with?
It is. And just from my experience, sometimes with the people that we hire to help do the phones, they're also doing other things and they're busy and they get kind of stressed out with everything else going on. And they may not have that smile because they're so stressed out with everything else that's going on in the business. Where your firm is, that's all they do is answer the phone and they can come off, I don't know, it might be easier because you're an outside agency rather than being inside the business. Is that something that you see as well?
Well, so yeah, that's actually an interesting question. I mean, I think one aspect to it is in background noise is huge. So, if you're out in the field and picking up the phone and you got machinery going on in the background, it's going to be hard to hear. And again, it's setting that impression, I'm distracted. You're not the most important thing to me. I got a lot of other things going on. And it's, the communication could be a little bit trickier. And I think the other thing is that you touched on there. I think... I mean, there is something to having someone this is their profession rather than, this is just another part of my job, where they've, all our receptionists have gone through a 2-week boot camp in customer service, where we talk about tone of voice, where we talk about positive phrasing on the phone, where we talk about, how to get a yes, how to guide the question to actually get the email rather than just say, I don't want to give you my email. It's these little tricks that help you to be able to do that call really well. And so when you have people that are actually dedicated to it and they're passionate about it, that comes across on the phone. It's just, it's that extra training. I mean, a lot of people just think that they almost overlook the importance of phone training because it seems like everyone should just know how to do it. But there actually is a science and an art to it. And I mean, especially this younger generation, grew up texting and don't even know how to talk on the phone. I mean, there's a whole skill to learn about it.
I think another huge thing too is with business owners, we've talked a couple times about it, that they're wearing so many business hats. Yeah, business hats, but just hats in general, that like to switch from like, okay, you've just been on a job and then you were just taking care of invoices and different things, and to just switch modes so many times and then to like jump on a phone call, your brain is in like 1,000 spots. So like customer service isn't even on like the front of your brain right now. That's not even something you're necessarily caring about. Like, yeah, you would love to be super kind and friendly, but there's 1,000 other things going through your head. So when they get to that breaking point and realize like how important that is, and then having someone that can take care of that for them and clear that from their brain, it makes a world of a difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And well, like I said, talking to one of our Academy members yesterday about trying to, decide to use like a service like yours or hire somebody in-house, we started going through some of the pros and cons on different things. He's like, well, I have to have an office, I have to have this, and then, I have to pay them, I'm not sure what the going rate is, but $30,000-$40,000 or whatever it is for a person to answer the phones all the time versus hiring something like you, which is considerably cheaper than that. There's a lot of other costs that goes into it. So that it made it actually, when we started laying it out, it made it a pretty obvious choice to go with a service like yourself. Is that something that you see as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what's nice about a service like ours is it's really flexible according to where you are in your business growth. So, I mean, if you're newer or just, the first few years of your business where you maybe don't have enough work to justify a full-time in-person admin, it's a great fill in the blanks or fill in the gaps kind of service. Because, yeah, I mean, I think especially with inflation, to get anyone good, you really can't pay them under 15, and a lot of them are even looking for more an hour. And then when you add on taxes on top of that, Social Security, Medicare, and then all of the different, just like, if you want to offer any kind of benefits or, if they ever get sick or vacation, paying for their training. And then if the retention, what if they don't stay, then you got to go through the whole process again of hiring. I mean, the costs really add up to more than about $40, $45, even sometimes $50,000 a year just to have a, $15 to $18 an hour employee. And that's just them covering, 8 to 5. And so what's nice about a service like ours is you only pay for us when we're actually on the phone for you. So you're not paying to have someone sit in a chair and browse Facebook. All the training we take care of, you're not covering any of that. We make sure we find the best receptionists, and we take care of covering, all the taxes and the benefits and all that kind of thing. So it's a cost sharing model, which really helps, again, level the playing field for small business owners, because they're near and dear to our hearts. And we understand if you want to compete with these huge companies, you do have to be available to 24/7, but that's really expensive to find someone to cover your phones 24/7. And it's expensive to yourself and your own personal life if you're the one doing it. And so that's what's nice, is that we can really be that gap filler to either be your full-time receptionist or just take the overflow of whatever you can't handle. And then as you grow and we actually work great with people that do have an in-office assistant already, but maybe what do we do during, lunch? What do we do on a sick day? What do we do before and after hours and on weekends? Because if you know the value of every call that comes into your business and the potential that you can, not only from that one job, but if they're a returning customer, that you can gain from every call, then having a service like ours to make sure that no call ever gets missed, it pays for itself several times over.
Absolutely. Well, me being a bit of a numbers guy and loving spreadsheets and everything, do you mind sharing a little bit, like, what is the cost of a person just missing the phone and not being able to pick up that phone because they're busy doing other things?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of times what we'll tell our clients is just, what's your average job ticket price? When you were in the field, what was your average job?
I'd say it was like $5,000.
Okay. So, that's a huge price tag. So obviously not every call is necessarily going to be a new customer, but if you realize that anytime someone does call in that is potential business, that's a $5,000 job that you're potentially losing. That pays for a service for more than a year, just by just booking one extra job. And then if you think of the value of your customer over, if they do returning business, or if they recommend you to their friends, it's more than just a $5,000 call. Then you're looking more at like a $20,000 call. The average business owner misses about 2.5 calls a day. So if you say that maybe out of a week, that's what, like 15-ish calls. And if maybe 3 of those were potential customers that you lost, you're looking at 15 grand in every week, and over a month, you multiply that by 4, you're looking at significant money, $60,000, $70,000 a month. And over a year, you're looking at over $1 million just by being average and missing a couple of calls a day. So when you think, that's just ripe fruit. You've spent all the time marketing and getting your phone to ring. It just is a no-brainer that you've got to make sure that you've always got it covered, that you're not losing any of those calls that are coming to you.
Yeah, and those are some amazing numbers when you start putting it down and start looking at it in that aspect. Most of us look at it as a cost to having that person, but you look on that backside of it as a missed opportunity there for you to grow your business. And those numbers are huge, and it speaks for themselves right there.
Absolutely.
Now, is there any advantages or disadvantages that you know of, like hiring somebody in-house versus hiring a service like yourself?
Sure. So, there's reasons you'll want someone in-house. If you have actual office duties as far as like manual paperwork that you're needing done with, that you need a person actually there in person, then definitely you'll want someone there. Or if you do have enough admin work to just keep someone busy for 8 hours a day, then it does make a lot of sense just to have that point person. You probably still want to have some sort of backup plan because people don't always call within that 8 hours. So we wish that happened, but they're going to call when they're going to call. And a lot of times it is in the evenings and on the weekends. So you do still want to make sure you have that coverage. But if you're in a business growth where you just don't have 8 hours of admin work every day, or you maybe don't have the budget to pay that, 40, 50 grand to have someone here like in-house, then it makes a lot of sense to also just hire someone like us to, if you like answering the phone, then again, we can just be backup, because what happens when you're on the other line? What happens when you're talking to a customer? Which customer do you pay attention to? You want to be the one that you're there in person. What happens when there's a fire you need to put out? What happens when you are trying to spend some time with your family? So, or if some people, it is a real thing. Some of our business owners have phone phobia, where they just don't like talking on the phone. And there's no shame in that. There's literally no shame in that. We actually service some accountants, and one of them was like, I love taxes. I hate talking on the phone. And I'm like, you know what? Most people would say they hate taxes. So everybody has their place,
Yep.
and there's nothing wrong. You didn't go into business to answer the phone. You went into business because you want to own a business. You love doing landscaping. And so there's a lot of reasons where it just makes a lot of sense to have someone virtual. The benefit is you're paying, you're getting that 24/7 coverage without having to pay ridiculous amounts for someone to just sit in a chair waiting for the phone to ring. So there's definitely a lot of benefits just to making sure you've got that. We live in a society now where people do expect most places to be open most of the time, and at least having the weekends and a little bit of evening coverage. So they're going to call, and you just want to make sure you're available for them. The other benefit too, sorry, I had one more thing on is a lot of people don't realize the power they're missing in not having a system for outbound calls. So there, again, you might have the leads that have come in through various sources. Maybe you have some website leads. Maybe you're doing some Facebook ads. Maybe you go to home shows. Do you have a system in place to make sure all those leads get followed up multiple times to make sure you convert them into a customer? And 9.5 times out of 10, businesses don't have a system in place. And usually the follow-ups are the last thing on the to-do list and don't really get done. And so that's another big perk that people love using us, even people that already have an admin, but maybe the admin doesn't have time to do it, to make sure that you've got someone in place to make those outbound calls. Again, pays for itself several times over to just convert more of those leads into actual paying customers.
That would have been awesome about 15 years ago, because we used to do these big home shows. Honestly, they're like 3,000 to 4,000 square feet home shows. Like, they're huge, and we teamed up a bunch of people, and we literally come out of there with hundreds of leads. And like, we have this huge list. I'm like, how am I going to get back to all these people? And honestly, to be honest, some of those people I just didn't have time. I would try to prioritize who I needed to call, but it's nearly impossible. So that would have been awesome to have a long time ago to help follow up with that. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's hard to wear all the hats like Kaylin was talking about. So it's no shame. It's just get the people and the systems in place to help you out to make sure those balls aren't falling.
Yeah, that's awesome. The other thing too, when you're talking here a second ago, I thought about is sometimes we have those customers that we see on the phone, like, I don't want to deal with that person. I don't want to call that person. Like, I just don't have the time for that right now. And sometimes we'll put it off. We'll just ignore that or like answer it, and you don't have that smile on your face because it's going to be something probably. How do you guys deal with that? I mean, you don't really have that emotional connection with that person, correct? You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it?
There, like you said, there's not as much of an emotional connection, but like Michelle said, they go through like a 2-week boot camp of how to handle different callers and like literally any scenario that you can possibly think of, like upset about someone messing up a job or not getting back to them, or they're just frustrated because of some situation that's going on in their life. And sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with like the reason they're calling in. They're just having a crappy day. And so our GLs are trained to like handle the situation and validate them and make sure they're doing okay, but also move the call along and make sure that they're taken care of and the reason that they're calling in is met and they're either scheduled or taken care of in that sense. And it's definitely, like Michelle talked about a few times, it's a skill. Like, not everyone can do it. Like, it's not something that comes naturally for everyone. It's something you have to learn and understand how to kind of empathize with people.
Yeah. And I think also sometimes it's easier to be that first line of defense if you're not personally attached to it. Because, I mean, it's your business. You're always going to be offended if someone has a problem, even if you didn't do anything wrong. They're just having a bad day or they're just illogical. There's a lot of illogical customers, so we deal with them all the time. Of course, we don't treat them that way, but we know that they are. And I think that when they are, if there is something they're upset about, initially they just need to get it out and vent. And oftentimes it's easier to have a third party be the one to take the heat of that in, acting as if they are, working for your company. But just because they're not going to have all that emotional attachment to the customer and to the business and the policies, they're going to be able to, validate just, that they're upset about something, not necessarily that they're right in what they're upset about, but just validate that they're feeling upset and just be able to take that heat and their initial upsetness. And then usually by the time, if it's something that we can handle, definitely we'll handle it. If it's not, and we're, just passing it along, then the customer's usually a little more calmed down by the time you have to step in and get involved. So it's usually a little bit of an easier situation. And also it's not like whiplash where you're taken off guard and knowing what to respond. You had time to actually think about it, figure out, hey, this is how I want to handle it. So you can handle that situation feeling a little bit more empowered and knowing what you're getting into before just getting pounded with it.
That's probably the price of the service right there, just to handle some of those calls, honestly. Sometimes it's tough.
Yeah. It's funny though. Some people, we get some funny requests, and I'm not recommending these, but it's hilarious. We've got people we had a client once who wanted us to ask this girl out on a date. It did not go well. So there's certain calls that we say, you probably should handle this yourself. She's like, if he wants to go out with me, he can call me himself. I mean, we've had people, hey, can you call Comcast? Because I don't want to wait in the big line. So, I mean, we get some weird ones every once in a while, but there are some times where, I mean, as a business owner too, I mean, sometimes you just want that shield of setting you up as a business owner. So, I mean, we've literally had some of our clients who are sitting in the truck saying, hey, I don't want to be the one to call this customer to tell them this. Can you call them? Let me know when the call is done. And so, I know I can go in and handle it. And that's totally fine. We get it. There's so many different reasons why you might not just be in the right mindset to call someone at a certain time. So it's great to be able to delegate that to someone to take care of it for you.
Heck yeah. Well, the big thing too is like we get people that are like smaller businesses and they're looking to grow in our academy, and they're looking, okay, I need to hire somebody. I want to hire somebody to answer the phones or whatever. But I'm okay. Well, that's fine if that's what you want to do. But there's a lot of back end things you need to do. You need to be able to create those procedures. How do you want them to answer the phone? What do you want them to say? What do you do when they have a client or customer is mad? And that's huge time saving just hiring somebody like yourself that's already dealt with this. And you just I would imagine the onboarding portion of your job is to kind of answer some or find out some questions that we need to do on our end, but you take care of all that. That's a huge time saver for a landscaper.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it's like all the equipment. What's the phone they're going to use? Do they have a computer? Do they need an office setting? Do they have a quiet background? So figuring all that out, not having to worry about any of that is huge. Not having to worry, like I mentioned before, sick days and holidays, and that's all on us. It's nothing you have to worry about. You just know we're always covering you. And we take over 1 million calls every year. So we've really learned how to know what we need to ask when someone gets onboarded. And we can onboard someone in as little as 24 hours, which sounds insane, but it's just because we've done it so much. Our Jills are familiar with the industry. And also we just know the questions that come up on those types of calls. So we just have a simple questionnaire to fill out so that we can create your customized call instructions because we do it all the time. And so we kind of know how to navigate the phone call.
So for those people that are interested, what is like the background? How does that all set up with their phone systems? How does all that work?
Yeah, they essentially can forward their calls. The best way I describe it is it's like when you would prank call someone and you would do *67 so that they can't see your caller ID. It's like that, but it sets it up so that all your calls come to us instead. And the beauty of it is that you have two options. Some people are like, they have phone phobia, like Michelle said, and they want absolutely nothing to do with their calls. And so you can have all of them come straight to us. And another option is they can have it go to them first and then come to us. So when the caller that they like to talk to, that they have that connection with, comes through, they can answer it and they can, get them scheduled or whatever. But when, Bob calls in and they're like, not Bob again, they can let it go over to us and it can come to us. And it's super nice because it can be completely in their control as how much they want to handle and how much they want to send over to us. So it can be as stress-free for them as they need.
Yeah. And so how it works too is you get a phone number to forward your phone to. And then that phone number is tied to your account. So when a call comes in, we call them Jills or receptionists. So the Jill will have all your company information pop up on the screen. So in that moment, she totally does a costume change into your receptionist and will answer as your receptionist. All the information about your company is there, what she needs to do on the call, frequently asked questions. It's all right there for her. And so she'll, even if we're going to schedule, she'll have all access to, what we need to do in scheduling and instructions on that. And then after the call, she'll send a detailed message of, who called in, what they were needing, what she did on the call, if any other help is needed. And that gets sent over to you right after the call to your email. And then we also have our own custom app. So you can see exactly what happened on every call. And the beauty of it too is if you ever want us to call anyone back, you can just simply go into the app, respond back to the Jill, and we can even call back and do any kind of follow-up that way too as well. So it makes it just super easy and that you're always in the know too of what's going on.
Nice. Now, do you guys offer any other services besides just the receptionist portion?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have launching in 2023, we have web chat coming as well. So we can also chat with your clients 24/7 on your website. So we're super excited about that. And we also offer an admin service. We call it our sidekick service. So it's kind of like a part-time admin if you need some tasks other than just phone calls that can be done virtually. So any kind of like data entry, you need help with like invoicing and other kind of more detailed tasks aside from just our call answering receptionists. You can hire an admin for like an hour or two a day for them to do other tasks for you.
Do you do like collections or anything like that to make phone calls to help collect a bill or a late payment?
So we're legally not a collection company, so we can't make a quote unquote collection call. But what we can do is we can definitely make reminder calls. That's totally legal. I would just remind them they have a bill, and if they want to take care of it, help give them the link or whatever in order to pay that bill. So we definitely do those types of calls just to remind them about the bill. Just legally, we're not a collections agency, so we don't call and say we're a collections agency, but we'll call it in behalf of the company, just remind them they have a bill that still hasn't gotten taken care of yet. So that's another great thing people love to delegate because nobody likes making those calls. But we actually have Jills who love it. So that's the amazing thing.
That's great. That's great. The other thing I was going to ask or talk about, I guess, is if somebody's not ready for, hire a service like yours and, they're still small enough, they don't think they can do it. Do you have any tips for how they should go about answering the phone and talking to people?
Yeah, I think, like you said, not everyone's ready. We know that it's all about timing. I think the number one thing is answering with a smile. Like, it makes such a big difference, and you don't think about it, but it really does. It makes a difference for the customer and for yourself, because then you feel more confident on the phone call talking to them and handling the situation. And the customer on the other end also feels that they were taken care of and they feel confident doing business with you. I think that's one of the biggest things, and just being attentive and paying attention to whatever they're talking about. Sometimes people go off on tangents about their dog and their neighbor and things like that. Letting them know that you care, but also you're here to do business.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Just your whole attitude and the energy you give over the phone. I mean, people can feel that. Even some basic things. I mean, again, when we do these random calls, sometimes people don't answer with their company name, which seems like a no-brainer, but a lot of people just don't think about it. They'll just say hello. But I think even just making sure you're answering so they know that which company they called, introducing yourself, making sure you get their name. Dale Carnegie talked about that the most beautiful sound to any human ear is the sound of their own name. So we train our Jills, try to use their name at least twice during the call. That helps to create that emotional connection. And people, they buy from who they know, like, and trust. And so if you use their name, it's going to speed up them knowing, liking, and trusting you and feeling heard. So that's another big one. I think also just making sure you're capturing their information. We recommend to do it before you even get into answering all their questions. Try to capture that first. So if for some reason they aren't, they try to get off the call, then again, you have their contact information to follow up with them because maybe they're just not ready right away. And instead of asking just, what's your email, always give a reason, what's the best email to send an estimate to? That you don't want to make it a yes or no question. You want to make it an assumed yes, and then just a reason to ask it. And so when you're trying to get different information from them, contact information about their home, just always think about what's in it for them and phrase the questions and the asking things and thinking of, if I were on the phone, what would help me give up this information? I think that's huge.
I think with that, having a system in place or something of where that information is going, because you'd be surprised how many times people come to us and they're like, oh, I write it down on a sticky note or on my hand and I hope it doesn't get lost. Or things like that. So have something in place so you can store that information so you can actually follow up with them later. You don't go through all the effort of getting that and then potentially lose it and have no idea what happened to it.
Even if it's a note on your iPhone, that you're just keeping it all right. It's somewhere that okay, I know where to look for this to find it when I'm ready again.
Well, that brings up another point. Like a CRM program or something to put that information in.
Absolutely.
Now, is that something that you guys can do from your end? Can you type that into a CRM that we have in our business, or is there certain ones that you guys use?
Yeah, so we are directly able to log into Jobber and House Call Pro, and we also work directly in Responsibid if anyone uses that. But then we can use any kind of online lead form from any other CRM or any kind of online booking link that way to get information in as well.
Okay. Well, because I think that's so important. If you can't get back to that person now, or you need to have some kind of system that's going to remind you, hey, I need to contact this person next week or whatever it is, at some certain timeline. So having a CRM is so important. And I think that's just seeing some people post on our Facebook groups, I need to get a CRM. I think there's some confusion of what a CRM is and what it actually does. It's not just the place you put the customer's information. I could do that in QuickBooks or whatever, but you need some kind of system that's going to remind you, hey, you need to contact this customer, or you need to follow up with the customer, or whatever it is. So that's amazing. You guys can connect that and put that all right in our CRMs
Right.
already.
And knowing the statuses too, is this a lead or is this a customer? Are they are waiting for the job, or did I do it 6 months ago? And keeping track of all that. A huge thing is following up, maybe 6 months or a year later if there's some other work they need done. And so having a way where you can just download a spreadsheet and just easily give that to someone to call through and follow up with everyone, or if you're doing a spring special or whatever it is, it's great to be able to kind of categorize your customers, and CRMs are phenomenal with that.
Yeah, well, that's another reason to hire Jill's office right there, is just to have that follow up, or to remind them like, hey, we're doing spring irrigation startup or whatever it is. That's a great thing to do, because you don't have time, especially if you're a small person and you're one or two people. You don't have time for all that stuff. So hire somebody like Jill's. Absolutely. Is there anything you guys wanted to talk about that I didn't cover today, or anything you wanted to add?
Another thing that we do a lot of training, and that's kind of fun to talk about, and this is a whole other conversation, but one tip I would give too is we do a lot of personality training, because a lot of people don't think about how important it is to match the personality on the phone. So we teach all our receptionists the DISC model of personality, and we actually give them animals because it's just easier to remember. So the animal itself can give you a 5-minute tip. Okay, so D is your dominant ones, but it's your lions, and so they're ones that just are straight to the point. They don't want the fluff. They just want to know, bottom line, what's this going to cost? Can you do this for me? Can you come out? And so identifying that personality on the phone, and instead don't get into all the details, because that's going to drive them nuts. Just mirroring, how they're directing the call. So that's how you talk to the lines, is just get straight to the point, answer the question, move on. And then you have your dolphins, and they're the fun-loving ones. They love to chat. Everything's a party. Everyone's their best friend. And so one of those, you got to take the extra time and just connect with them, and don't make it all business. The lines, you got to make it all business, or they get annoyed. The dolphins, if you're all business, then they don't feel connected or loved by you. So with them, it's like taking the time to hear about the history of how they bought their home and their grandma and their grandma's grandma, and what they want to do with the lawn, and now what you want to do. Taking the time to hear that and validate them, and then remember it, make a note, and the next time you talk to them, make a note about it. That's going to make them feel connected with you, and that helps them feel, again, safe and understood, and want to do business with you. And then you've got your owls, and they're the ones that are super analytical. They are going to ask you more questions about your business than you've even ever thought of. But again, that's what makes them feel secure, and they need all those answers to make a buying decision. They're a little slower, but they're great customers, if you can get them. So recognizing those, and if they're asking all those questions, take the time to actually answer them. And then you have your golden retrievers, who are just kind of they're super loyal ones. But it's really important to them for like safety and security and loyalty. They're little. I think they're harder to identify on the phone, because they're I don't know. How would you explain them? It's just kind of
like a little more reserved almost, and quiet. Yeah. So you kind of like, sometimes I feel like they have a little bit of a couple of them in them, to where you have to kind of, I don't know, decipher it a little more.
But like family values are big for them, and just like understanding, if you are doing have some other initiative of why you're doing your business. They love stuff like that, and just knowing about the security or your employees' background checks and things like that. So that is one other tip we love to give people, is to get a little bit of learning in personality training. That will help you, not even just on the phone, but in closing jobs in general, and in sales. And mirroring, don't just talk the way you want to be talked to, but talk in the way that the customer wants to be talked to, and really try to pay attention and turn that little radar on in your head of how they're trying to direct the conversation, and mirror it. And that's huge in being able to make a genuine connection and try to close the deal.
Those are some amazing tips. I couldn't agree with you more. I love the disc analogies there. That's great with the animals. I never looked at it that way.
Remember, yeah.
Nice. So do you have any advice if somebody's considering, they're on the fence of hiring an in-house person or hiring Jill's office? Is there anything you want to leave them with to really consider why they should go with Jill's office?
I say it's a no-brainer to give it a try, because we have a no-risk 14-day guarantee, happiness guarantee. If for some reason it doesn't work, we'll give you your money back. But it's actually a much more economical way to investigate us first, because less than $100 a week, we can get you taken care of for just like 25 minutes a week of calls. We definitely can scale up with you as you need more minutes, but that compared to being committed to finding the 8 hours in training and making sure you're having the right employee. So I always recommend give us a try. If for some reason we aren't the right fit for you, then absolutely we want you to make sure that you find the best fit for you. But there's really no reason not to try because it's risk-free and very easy and fast and economical to set up.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I agree. It's almost a no-brainer when you really start looking at the numbers and looking at all the reasons to hire somebody, especially if you don't have somebody in the house already, or if you just need a little bit backup. Like you said, some people call like weird times. I know I've looked at my voicemail and people have called at like 11 o'clock at night. Like, who calls at a landscape company at 11 o'clock at night? But people do. And
yeah.
But Bill, to have somebody answer that phone would be amazing, because a lot of times nowadays it's the first person, like you said, that answers it and talk to somebody, you're going to get that sale. So it'd be amazing. I wish we had this a long time ago. I would easily hired you guys. So so those that are interested in talking to Jill's office, who do they contact? Where do they go?
Yeah. So if you go to our website, jillsoffice.com, you can get a free demo. So you can kind of get a taste of what it's actually like. But if you do decide to move forward, we actually do have a special for all your listeners. So if you use the code MILLION, then you'll get $200 off the setup. So that's a code that you can use and sign up, and we'd love to help you out.
Yeah, that's even more of a reason to sign up and give them a try right there. So no, thank you for that. Do you have some time for some fun questions? It can go for either one of you, I guess.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What did your 15-year-old self imagine you'd be doing right now?
Ooh. 15 was not that long ago for me, so I feel like this is easy. I think I thought that I would be in school full time, probably. But yeah.
Okay.
For me, let's see. When I was 15, man, what did I think of it? That's such an interesting way. It's not when you grow up. It's like 15. I thought I was going to be a teacher, actually, is what I thought I would be doing. So I guess I'm teaching here on the podcast, kind of.
Yeah,
so not too far off.
You are. Nice. Okay. Given the choice given the choice of anyone in the world, who would you want as a dinner guest?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Dinner guest.
I'm trying to think, living or dead?
Either one. We'll go either one.
Who comes top to your mind?
I think Chris Pratt would be fun to sit down at dinner with. He's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tag him in this. Maybe he'll see it.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. All right. Last one. What would you write a book about?
Oh, that's a good one. I've actually wanted to write several books, but I think currently, what it would be on is something with behavioral economics or just emotional intelligence in business. I think that whole concept is fascinating, and it's amazing how learning those little things makes such a big difference in your business. So that's something. I don't know. Do you have anything you'd like?
I don't know. The first thing that came to my mind was my life. I think it would be a humor book, book of humor, though.
That's a good one. She's hilarious.
Nice.
I would read it.
Well, I'm a big book fan, so I'm going to throw one more question out to you. Is there any books that you recommend landscapers go out and check out and read, or listen to?
I mean, E-Myth, hands down, you got to read that one. We actually, one thing we have all our Jills actually read is, why can I also not think of any of it? Thank you. The Slight Edge. Because it talks about just focusing on, actually your quote that you've got up here, with little things come great things. It talks about just the slight edge that can happen in just consistency and daily little things every day. So we loved it so much. We recommend actually every Jill read it, but I also recommend every business owner. And then another one that's really good with that is Essentialism. Is another great read that I love.
Nice. Okay. Thank you for that. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you hopping in here today. I appreciate you taking the time to share all this great information. For all the landscapers out there, definitely go check out Jill's office. You have nothing to lose with them. They're even giving you a discount right now, so take advantage of it. And you'll definitely, if you really sit down and look at the numbers and look at what you can actually achieve by having a company like Jill's office handle all those calls for you and even doing all their tasks for you, pay off tenfold. So I encourage you guys to go check out Jill's office today. So thank you, Kaylin. Thank you, Michelle. I think you appreciate you guys being in here today. And anything else you want to add?
Oh, thank you so much, Scott. This was a pleasure. We love it. And we love it. We'd love to connect with more. Even if you guys don't need our help, we always love connecting with business owners. So please reach out. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great one.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Scott.
Bye.